Hi, it's Lee from ColouringQueen.net, and today I have the 126 Arrtx coloured pencils to review. And as you can see from the unboxing of these pencils, they are wrapped up tight for delivery. They're protected in this foam packaging, and inside is this sturdy cardboard box. Now the cardboard box is multi-purpose. First of all, we've got the gorgeous illustration on the front. This box is green, which differentiates it from the 72 set, which is blue. There are 3 gorgeous bunnies on the box, which is absolutely gorgeous. You know I love my bunnies, and that's a winner with me. Putting bunnies on your product is a big tick. We've got foiling down the bottom, but the box serves as a gift box, but it's also a storage box for your pencils, and it's also an organizer for your pencils. So let's have a look closer. The box is pretty sturdy. It's a lot thicker packaging than some of the boxes that our colored pencils come in, but it's certainly not a tin, but it is quite a sturdy box. I will probably keep my pencils in the box. I only have a few pencils that I put into pencil cases. I actually prefer them in the box. On the back, we have a colour chart. Now, as per usual, I would recommend that you always do your own colour chart and swatch, because the printed colours are different from what the actual pencil colours are, and we've all got different techniques. I've actually swatched these out, and you can see that on a video up here. I'll put a card up in the corner. So inside we've got the pencils, a big range with 126 pencils. 2 of those are metallic silver and gold, and 3 fluorescent colours, yellow, pink and orange, as well as all the sort of standard colours that you would expect. Now this set is different from the 72, although the newer sets of 72 pencils have the same colours as this one. This one actually has more pencils that are in a range of tones, so it's easier for you to create colour blends. So let's look inside. So lifting that lid up, inside we find the magic. We've actually got 2 boxes, and so that's what I mean. These are really good as organisers. So you can put them on your workspace. If you're like me, I've got hardly any room. My workspace to colour is basically the size of this foam mat underneath. So I have very little room on my desk to actually colour. So having my pencils vertically, which I love vertical things. I went mad watching Maria Kondo years ago, and I vertically stack everything now. But having them like this saves a lot of space. Now, the pencils too are well protected, because as you can see, they're placed point down, but the point is protected because it's got all these little foam holes. There's foam padding here, and these little foam holes that you just insert the pencil into, so the point remains protected. Now, initially, when the first set of pencils that the company released, the 72 set, was released, the box, I believe, was a bit tighter. So now they've made it a little bit looser, so it's easier for you to use the pencils and get them out and pop them back in. So we've got 3 layers in each of these foam protected boxes that we can store the pencils with, and we can use them as desk organisers. Now, they're not in any colour tone families. I haven't organised them as yet. I will be organising them later into a colour wheel, and I'll probably change the order of how they appear in the box so I can organise them into colour families. But that's the way they are, or that's the way they arrived for me, just straight out of the box. Now, Arrtx is actually a mid-range art supply company. They offer a pretty wide range of products for colourists, artists, illustrators as well. They've got coloured pencils like these ones, they've got markers, they've got paints, they've got watercolours, and they even have paper. The pencils inside are already pre-sharpened, and unlike a lot of pencils that I've reviewed in the past, they didn't have like a little wax protector on the tip. So when I swatched them out, I didn't have to give them a quick turn in the sharpener to actually get rid of that little waxy residue that's sometimes on our pencils. So as you can see on the barrel here, we have a selection of stars. This is not a light fast rating. I have read that they're light resistant. I haven't seen that they have a light fast rating, and I don't believe that they have, but I will be asking Arrtx about that. Now, as you can see, the writing on the barrel is in silver. Now on this one, on the Crimson Lake, because the barrel is quite dark, the writing in the silver with the pencil number, it shows up pretty well, but I've got to say, for me, I wear reading glasses and I've got them on right now. When I was doing my swatch chart, the silver font was very hard to read because of the silver and also because of the size. On some pencils, it was very difficult for me to discern the number or the name sometimes, or the correct spelling, but I do believe that they've received feedback on that and they might be working at changing it. The thing about Arrtx is that I've seen from doing my own research of the brand online that they're actually quite willing to accept feedback on improving their products. So for example, I think the packaging issue was raised with them, that they were a bit too tight to get the pencils out. And so they've addressed that in their next set of pencils and in this new set of 126. They were told originally, I believe, on the 72 set that there were too many yellows, and they actually replaced 2 of those yellows with a blue and a purple. So they seem to be quite willing to accept some constructive feedback on their product, which is always great to see, because then that means that we can keep supporting them and getting a great product. So they're classified as artist grade pencils. Now I want to show you what they're like up against a polychromo and a Prismacolor. Now as you can see, barrel size, they're pretty similar to the Prismacolor, and they've also got the silver font and silver writing as a Prismacolor does, but Prismacolor makes it super easy to see the number, and there's something about their font, the thickness of it, it makes it easier to see. This is a very fine line on the font. Now barrel size, they all look, you know, pretty much of a muchness. Both the polychromo and the Arrtx have both got a capped barrel, so we can't see if the core is centered. But if you're a regular Prismacolor user, you'll probably realize that many of your Prismacolors, the core is not centered and they're a little bit off. But I've never had that be a problem for me, but I know some people have experienced difficulties with that. Now the barrel size is actually 7.8 millimeters. And the lead inside is 3.8 millimeters, and they're all round, just like the other 2 pencils that I'm comparing it with. And like the Prismacolor, they are wax based, whereas the polychromo is oily based. Now to me, they feel quite light. They feel similar in weight to the Prismacolor, if weight is an issue for you when you're holding pencils. To me, the polychromo feels heavier. On the barrel, it's made of a basswood, and they've tried to get the barrels pretty close to the colour of the pigment. Now, in some cases, they've succeeded, but say like this one, it's pretty close. But in some, when I was doing my swatch, it is off, and barrel colour and pigment colour, you know, are very difficult to achieve because this is using like a paint rather than a pigment, so it's really hard to get those looks the same, which is why I always think it's best just to do a swatch, and then you really know, and plus you have your own style so you can see what the colour looks like. So let's have a look at what the colours are like when we actually swatch them out. So I managed to get 3 pages out of these 126 colours. And you can see my swatching video if you like watching those. Now they're not sorted into colour families and colour tones, but I will be doing a colour wheel video at some stage. So we've got quite a lot of yellows and oranges. We've got the general whites and blacks, the silver and gold. We've also got a lot of blues and blue greens, some pinks, some oranges. As well, we've got a large range of reds, red violets, a lot of greens. So if you're doing realistic pictures, you might find that you've got well enough for browns and for woods and leaves and trees. A large range of purples and purple violets, a lot of yellowy greens. So quite a large selection there. And then we've really got a large range of browns. Now there are no French greys in the series. That doesn't bother me, but we've got warm greys, we've got cool greys, and different percentages too, which is good. And many of the names are very similar or the same as Prismacolor names, and that often happens in the art world. There are some standardized names, but there are also some names that are completely I haven't heard before, and I'm hoping someone knows the meaning of them. But there's a lot of, you know, unusual names here for me. Like I've never heard of Baker Miller Pink before, but I guess pencil naming is an art of itself. So there seems to be like quite a good range in the 126 set of pencils. So lots of blues, lots of blue violets, red violets, pinks, browns, greens. So pretty impressive. At the moment, I think there's enough there to do quite a few skin colours and hair colours. When I was swatching them through, that was one of the things that I was looking at, and I will be doing some blends of these later on just to see what there is. And it seems to me that the way that they have created this pack is so that you can create actual blends, just like you can with, say, Prismacolors, so that you can have that graduation of colours if you like to do lots of layers, because they say that you can layer the pencils up to 5 layers without getting any slip and slide that you sometimes do with the waxier based pencils like the Prismacolors. So we'll check that out and we'll see if that's true or not. So I'm going to test out the pencils first of all in Hannah Lynn's Bowie Mermaids, and the reason I'm choosing this book is because it's a Kindle KDP or Create Space book by an independent artist. So the paper in it is not as heavy as in a lot of other colouring books that you might be used to. So I want to see how it performs on the lighter weight paper. And this is the page that I usually use when I'm testing out pencils. So let's dive in and just grab some random colours and see how we go. So I've got Crimson Lake. Now they go on very smooth, and if you press down, you can get a lot more colour. Look at that. That's just from changing the pressure that I'm putting on here. Usually I do one layer really light because in case I want to rub it out. Yeah, I just wanted to show you the different pressure levels. It goes on very soft, there's no scratchiness, and you can easily adjust how much you're putting on. So here I'm just putting on lighter, and often if I feel I'm being too heavy-handed, I will move my hand up higher on the barrel so it reduces the pressure. I am quite impressed at how much, when you press down, how much pigment is coming out. So that's quite good. I'll zoom in a bit so you can see. So let's try the Crimson Red, and it's blending into the next pencil without any problem. It's very soft, there's no resistance or scratchiness. So I think with these KDP Create Space books, that you wouldn't need to do multiple layers. Now I'm using Scarlet Red and it's blending easily into the next one. I hadn't pre-selected these, I'm just grabbing them out of the box, so it might not be the best blend, but they're all blending in quite well. So I want a lighter orange now. We'll try that fluorescent orange just to see what it looks like. And blend that in. It's blending in really easily. There's no tooth on the paper. You can go over it. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed so far, but this is a very smooth paper. It doesn't have a lot of tooth in it at all, so quite a lot of pigment. No white spaces. And that was just from one layer. So we can do multiple layers. They say that it works with up to 5. So add in a bit more. Might try this pale vermilion. And it doesn't seem to matter if you put a lot of pressure on or if you do it light, it's still blending in without slipping, so it's getting quite bright there. So pretty nice combination there on the Create space. It's certainly got more pigment in other pencils that I've tried in the past. So let's try it on another book. So I think everyone has a Joanna Basford book lying around. I've got 2 Secret Gardens, so I often use this to check out my pencils. And here is my test page and all the other pencils that have come before it. So let's give it a try and see how it goes here. So we'll use the same pencils. Crimson Lake. It's going on very smoothly. I'm just using horizontal strokes here. There's no scratchiness. Now the paper is quite smooth in these Joanna books, so be interested to see how it builds up. Got Crimson Red. There's no problems doing multiple layers, so may as well give it a try. Chili pepper, sounds good. I think we need an orangey one now. So I'll go for this pale vermilion again I used on the other one. So I'm going to do another layer. It says up to 5, so now I'm not getting any resistance to doing these additional layers from either the paper or the pencils. And it is now starting to show the vibrancy that I would expect from doing multiple layers. And although the pencils are waxy, so far I'm on my 3rd layer and I haven't got any wax bloom or any pencil dust. So that's always important if you're asthmatic or you have sensitivities with art supplies. And also you don't like to get little bits of pencil over your work. I've had it go on the facing page that many times because I've forgotten to spray fixative and then the pencil dust is all embedded into the picture on the facing page and I've had to erase it all, which is all too much hassle. So now we're getting more vibrancy in the colour, but still no resistance from either the paper or the pencils, and so far I haven't experienced that slip that you sometimes get when you're using a wax-based pencil and you've done multiple layers and the pencil starts slipping around on the part that you're colouring because you've got so much waxy build up there. That's, I think, 4. I've lost count, but there's no problem so far, so pretty good. Now, colour-wise, it is pretty bright. I think I want to go around that with a darker colour as well. We'll try this one, Mayan Violet. Give that a whirl. Just to see if I can add a bit more there and if it'll take. And so far so good. The other thing is that you might notice that the pencil tip is staying pointed. Now, I haven't sharpened any of these since I've unwrapped them, and I've already swatched them out, so they've already been used, and the point on the pencils is still pointed. So I haven't had to get the sharpener out. Now, on my 4th or 5th layer here, I've lost count, I am finally starting to see a little tiny bit of pencil dust. It's not a lot, but there is a little tiny bit there to brush away. And it's only once I've added this Mayan Violet into the mix. Now, from a pigment point of view, it seems to be very highly pigmented compared to my others. So over here is one with a Prismacolor center. And here we have up against a Crayola, Derwent Colour Soft, Spectrum Noir. So we've got quite a few different brands, Holbein and the melts on it. Polychromos over here. So obviously they're different colours that have been used. That's a Lyra, Rembrandt, but the pigment is still pretty good and it's very vibrant from where I'm standing. So hopefully you can see that, and you might be able to see the little tiny bit of pencil dust that came on my 4th or 5th layer when I added just an outer edge on it. So that's in Joanna's book. So I know many of you that watch this channel have Japanese colouring books, and you know I do. So let's check it out in Eriy's colouring book, and this is the page that I use to test out new pencils in Japanese books. So let's give it a go. So I think we'll do this bridge thing here. So I've got Tuscan Red on the outer. It's going on very well. You can see a lot of white coming through here on the tooth because this paper is a bit more textured than the smooth paper that Joanna uses in her book. Now I could of course press a little bit firmer, and lots of colour coming out there if you like to solidly colour. So maybe I'll solidly colour up here in the corner. So then we'll try the Crimson Lake. Now you can see on just a light layer there that there's still a lot of white tooth. I'm not pressing hard. Let's go with the chili pepper. And again, I'm not pressing hard. I'm just going soft because I want to see if we can do these multiple layers and what books best support that. Because I know from just my quick test that I can do solid layers. So we'll go the Scarlet Red. And I'm going back over the different colours just a little bit. And I'm pressing a bit firmer down to flatten the tooth. And then I think we'll give it a bit of orange or something like that. This one will do, the pale vermilion. And straight across, so it's blending beautifully. It's really smooth, it's knocking out any of those little white lines, and I never pressed firm around here, so I can now do multiple layers around there if I choose to, because I've got plenty of room, or plenty of layers that I could still add colour to. And this paper is still giving me some resistance, so it means that I can add more wax to it too before it becomes completely smooth. If you like the completely smooth look, you know, some people like the pencil stroke look, and I think it looks lovely too. Plus less work, but I do tend to, even though I like that look, I always tend to blend it out and add colour all over the place, even not leaving white, because I just get carried away. But it's so smooth across, and the colour, I think, is really vibrant. Have a look. And you can see how vibrant that is just from the light layers and then once across. So beautiful colours and not as much layering required. Now I will just put some more layers on because they did say that they could take 5, so I want to see if it's true or not. So even though I don't need them, I'm going to put more on. Now I ended up putting 4 to 5 layers on that, and about the 4th layer I started to get a little tiny bit of pencil dust. Not much, just remember to brush it off, but the vibrancy of the colour still remained, and I'm still not experiencing any slippage. I could still add maybe another layer to that. So far it seems to be pretty accurate that you can add multiple layers without getting the slippage. Also, I've been using a lot of the same pencils and they're still retaining a good point. The thing about these is that they're wax-based, but they're not as soft as the Prismacolors. So whatever the binding or the filler that they use in them, it's obviously a little bit firmer because you don't need to sharpen, and I haven't sharpened yet, and they're still retaining the point and they're not getting as much slippage. So there must be something in the binder or the filler for the pencils that's causing them to be creamy but a little bit firmer as well. So often we like to colour on a black surface. And I've tested our pencils before on these lovely Spectrum Noir pads. I don't believe they make them anymore. People always ask me, I've reviewed them previously on the channel, just in case I'm getting ready for people to ask me again. But I'm not sure that they make them anymore, but they are beautiful. So if you can ever pick them up, this is the page that I always use to test out the pencils and see how they look on black paper. So we use some pretty dark colours so far. So let's see how they look on the paper. So it's going on very soft. Kind of does look a little bit waxy, but it's not feeling waxy. Add in a bit more of a different colour over here. On this paper, it's kind of feeling a little bit waxy to me. It's still going on, but it's kind of leaving pencil marks. Now it has blended. There is a bit of pencil dust and it is sort of leaving some pencil marks on there. So it's good, but probably not as good as some other alternatives, but you're still getting a good look, but it is tending to produce some pencil dust earlier than what it has with the previous papers that I've tested. But I'll try the white and we'll see how that looks. So white is fantastic. It's going on like a dream. So maybe it's the pigment in these red blends. So we'll try another colour. So let's try this lemon. Oh, that's going great. So maybe it was just the reds and the pigment that is in red. So I'm glad we gave that one another chance. Let's add some more to it. Oh, that's great. That's going really well. Put in a little bit over here. Now there is a little bit of pencil dust coming. Let's try maybe orange. Let's try orange. Got some weird colours happening here. Yeah, that's nice. The orange is going really well. So I think initially my colour choice was off, maybe because of the actual pigment that's used to make colours in the red range, because these other colours seem to be going on really well and looking far better than this one that ended up showing the pencil strokes and not really blending that well, whereas these colours were just randomly selected and seem to work a lot better, in my opinion. I know some people will ask me whether they're water soluble or not, so let's give it a test. And my apologies, I couldn't find my paintbrush, so I'm using a makeup brush. And you can sort of move it around a bit, but I really wouldn't, you know, paint with it. You can try and use a wipe to get sort of watercolory looks. So I've just got like a screen wipe. You can use baby wipes for this. And if you just want to like soften looks, so see how that's softened, I would just put the baby wipe around a cotton bud and see if you like the look of that when it's softened, you know. But you can sort of achieve a poor man's watercolour effect without having any watercolours. So while we've got this book out, let's see how easy it is to get this pigment off. If you make a mistake and you want to erase something, let's give it a test and see if we can get it happening and see how easy it is to erase or add highlights. So no problems at all for the Derwent electric eraser. Now we'll try the Tombow Mono. Not as easy obviously as the electric eraser, but it is erasing and you can see that. Now bear in mind that red colours are always very difficult to erase, so I think it's doing a pretty good job. No problem at all there for the Derwent. And the Tombow is struggling a little bit. It's really resisting. Gonna have to put some muscles into it. It's coming off, but it is a lot more difficult obviously than the Derwent. So if you want to add a highlight or rub out your mistakes, it seems pretty easy, and that's with reds that are traditionally pretty hard to get off. And let's add some highlights here. A bit too big, but very easy to take it off the Create Space paper. Now it hasn't damaged the paper because this paper is lighter than the other papers, so it hasn't done any damage to the paper, no pilling, and no pilling in any of the books. Although the Tombow is struggling. It is coming off, but it is a struggle. I wonder if I've got weaker over the Christmas break. But yeah, it does take a little bit of extra work with the Tombow. So let's try it in our black book. Let's get rid of this one that didn't work out the best. And that's really easy to come off. It's making a lot of pencil dust as it comes, but it felt really waxy going on, and coming off it's got that little waxy build up. The Tomboy is struggling though to get it off. So definitely use my Derwent with that one. So we've seen how they look, the colours, how they perform in our different books. See what they're like to actually sharpen. And I'm going to use my favourite M&R pencil sharpener. So it has 2 sharpened sizes, and I have a heap of fancy pencil sharpeners. You can see my review on all of them, but sometimes in life you just like the cheap things or the cheaper things that you've got, and this is my absolute go-to. So in the small hole, I'm just going to give this one a sharpen. It's turning really easy. It's making a good frill of wood without any skipping, which sort of tells me that the core is pretty well centered. Does have a little bit of shaving there, which might be that my blade needs changing, or it could be the pencil. I'm going to try another one in the other hole, which is the bigger hole. It's making a lovely curl, and I can see from doing this pencil that my blade needs changing on the other side. And look at that lovely point. So when you sharpen it, my blade needs changing on the other one, on the other size hole, because you can see the wood has got some marks in it, but on the smaller hole it's performing really well, which means that that's the newer blade. Goes around really easily, makes a lovely point, and the point is really firm. It's not breaking when I touch it, and I'm touching it quite firm. I'm pushing against it and it's not breaking. No breakage so far. So because it's creamy and it goes on slightly buttery, but it's still quite firm, so it's in between a Prismacolor and a Polychroma in my opinion, and it sharpens up so nicely without, see, I've had to push really hard on my nail to break that point. You can do the finer lines and the details with it without getting another set of pencils or really sharpening up to a really firm point and keep sharpening, because this is really retaining the point. Bear in mind that I've used these pencils already to swatch out. So far they're looking pretty good. And for the mid-range price that they're on offer at, they seem to be pretty good value. I'll be using them throughout the next couple of weeks. I'm making a colour wheel and some colour blends and using them in a colouring book just to see what sort of pictures I can do with them and how they perform long term. So to wrap up my review, so the pros and cons of these pencils. Well, first of all, there's a large range of colours. They're very well packaged, so they make an ideal gift. There's a range of tones within the colours, so that is always good if you're doing blends. The price is less than other artist brand pencils. They're not showing any wax bloom when you're adding multiple layers, and the pigment in them appears to be pretty good on the blends that I've tried so far. They're pretty vibrant, and you could see that in my Secret Garden book up against some other blends that I had tried in the past with other pencils. Now, they weren't the same colours, so obviously different colour blends, you know, show different vibrancy, but it was pretty impressive. And the amount of layers that you could do without any wax bloom. There was a tiny bit of pencil dust when we got to like third layers, which I would expect. And the other good thing was you could add different pressures on them without them breaking. They sharpened really well, they blended out really well, and they erased particularly well with my Derma electric razor. You could colour with them solidly, or you could blend them out. Now, they're significantly less than a lot of artist brand pencils, but there are a couple of drawbacks. First of all, there doesn't appear to be any open stock, and I will be asking Arrtx if they have plans to have open stock in the future. I know with the Black Widow pencils, they still don't have open stock, but they do allow you to buy individual pencils if you email them, and I would be happy just with that, because I can understand that it's very difficult for a company to stock individual colours and individual pencils in an online store or on Amazon or something like that. I understand the logistics of that, but I would like to have a way of getting a replacement pencil should I need it. And I don't believe that they are light fast. As I said earlier, I will ask them about that in a future email, and I'll add it to a pinned comment under this review. I did read somewhere that they were light resistant, but I couldn't find on their packaging or their website that they're light fast. Now, that would matter if you are selling your work or you work for commissions. If you're just using the pencils in your colouring books, you're not framing it inside the house or selling it to people that might be framing it, then the light fastness wouldn't matter so much to you because they're just in your colouring books. But for some people it might be important, so I would like to get an answer on that. For me it doesn't matter because I just put my completed colouring pages in a folder, or they stay in the book that I've coloured them in. So for me it doesn't matter at all that they don't have any information about light fastness. They're a lovely range between like the Prismacolors, the softness of them, and the firmness of a polychromo, but not quite as firm as polychromo. So they're somewhere in between. Very easy to blend, and I'll be interested to see what sort of blends I can create from this and how they perform in the colouring books that I'll be colouring with them in my next colour along and in my next colouring chat videos. So there'll be more of this later. So I'd love to hear from you if you like the look of these pencils or if you already have them. And if you are interested in these pencils, have a look at the description box below the video. You'll see that there is a sale on at the moment where you can get up to 15% off the cost of the pencils. Depending on where you live, the sale starts at different times. So, and it's only for a limited time only. So check out the description box below the video. So until next time, stay safe and happy colouring.